Hello everyone, this is Dr. Todd, and in this video we're going to take a look at Tom Schreiner's book, Covenant and God's Purpose for the World. If you like these videos, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future book reviews. Also, if you have a particular book related to Christianity that you'd like for me to review, please feel free to drop it into the comments. With that said, let's get to the book. Tom Schreiner is the James Buchanan Harrison Professor of New Testament Interpretation and Professor of Biblical Theology at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. He specializes in the New Testament and has authored several books, many of which deal with the relationship between the covenants, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the law, the gospel, those kind of things. Schreiner writes from a Reformed Baptist perspective, and his theological sympathies lie somewhere within the theological system we might call progressive covenantalism. Now, hopefully I can explain progressive covenantalism in an upcoming video soon. In this 120-page book, Schreiner argues that the covenants help us see the harmony and unity of the biblical message. He shows how the covenants serve as plot points, providing the structure of the Bible's storyline. As with any narrative, the plot progresses as characters interact with one another. Now, although Schreiner doesn't put it this way, you can understand how the story unfolds by keying in on select scenes in which the protagonist, in this case God, and his love interest, us, interact. These scenes are the major covenants of Scripture, and they carry the story from the beginning through the end. As we move into the book, it might be helpful to think of the redemptive story as a quest narrative, possibly even a love story of sorts. The story opens with God creating the world and everything in it. And this creation is an idyllic paradise that is spoiled by the introduction of the antagonist, Satan. The main characters, Adam and Eve, representing us, commit adultery with Satan, and the good creation that God had put in place is left like a home that's been wrecked by adultery in the world here today, contemporary society. The remainder of the book is God's pursuit to restore the relationship with human beings and to reform his previously untainted creation. We see that in Genesis 3:15, God makes the following promise to Satan as this is all unfolding. God says, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." Now there God is talking about crushing Satan by sending Christ to make things right. And the remainder of the Bible, in this framework, is the unfolding and ultimate fulfillment of that promise. Now, from a technical perspective, how will God make this happen? Well, the restoration can only occur as God interacts with human beings. And he does so, or he chooses to do so, in the form of what we would call covenants. But before highlighting these major scriptural covenants, it might be a good idea for me to explain what a covenant is first. Well, according to Schreiner, a covenant is a chosen relationship in which two parties make binding promises on each other. Schreiner sees 6 major covenants in Scripture. These covenants are, first, the covenant with creation; second, the covenant with Noah; third, the covenant with Abraham; fourth, the covenant with Israel; fifth, the covenant with David; and last, the new covenant. Now, as we proceed through Schreiner's book, he ably shows how each covenant relates to the next one and carries you to the fulfillment or the final fulfillment of God's quest, which results in not just the inauguration, but the establishment and the living out of the new covenant. Now, that's pretty much how the book unfolds. I guess the next question is, what did I think about it? Well, I found the book to be a unique blend of scholarly work explained in an accessible fashion. After reading the book, I had a much better grasp, quite frankly, of how the biblical story, the whole biblical story, and how it fits together. In other words, how the parts fit into the whole. One of the things that I really appreciate about Schreiner's writing style is that it's clear, it's careful, and it's nuanced, especially in his argumentation. Although and it's very easy, you can see this very easily when you read it, but although he is a bright, bright man, he comes across more like a humble servant and less like an arrogant savant. His analysis is thoughtful and independent in the sense that he's not simply towing the party line of any major theological system of interpretation. Instead, in Covenants, Schreiner provides his readers with an understanding and interesting treatment of how we can use the covenants to better understand the biblical storyline. Well, with that said, who should read this book? I think anyone wanting to understand covenants, biblical theology, their overall story of Scripture would benefit from reading the book. The book would be an excellent resource for pastors, small group leaders, and even Christian counselors. It's a concise, clear book that paints a story in a way that will edify any Christian who reads it. Well, I hope that this has been helpful. Like I said before, if you have any Christian books that you'd like me to review in the future, please drop me a note in the comments. Until then, happy reading, and I'll catch you in the next video.